Welcome to a quick video on how to do quotes and how to make a works cited page. Many of you need to be working on this for SHSU. A lot of you had this note left on your paper that this is something you need to work on, so I'm going to go over it really quick so you have an easy access guide on how to do this well. First thing I want to note is just that we have our MLA heading here, right? Double spaced, Times New Roman, 12-point font, right there, right? Name, professor's name, class name, and then the date. So always get started with that. And also make sure to do this. I only saw a couple of people with this up here. Remember to access this, you're going to go to Insert and then Page Number. Put a page number at the top of the page, hit OK, and it'll pop up. And you just need to come up here, type your last name, and make sure that that is in Times New Roman, and you're set. So once you get all of this done, then you get to writing, right? You already have a lot here, your essays here. For today's example, I'm going to show you how I did one on hurricanes. Because it's just an easy, quick topic, right? So I started my paper, I got a couple sentences in, and then I hit my first quote. The first thing we always want to do is make sure that we have this bit right here, right? We want to make sure that our sentence, our quote specifically, has an introduction. So here I say the New York Times has reported. For you, you might say Donald Trump's website has said, or Joe Biden's campaign official has said, or this magazine reported, or my roommate thinks, comma, whatever it is, we always put it here, right? Because we're letting them know I'm about to give you a quote. If we just start with the quote, it seems really off the wall. Think if you were in a conversation and somebody just started quoting something without telling you it was a quote. It would be kind of weird, right? Because it would break up the flow. So we always include something like this to let them know that we're going to be quoting. The next thing you're going to do is going to copy the quote, right? So the main thing here is we want it to make sense with the flow of the sentence, right? So the New York Times has reported the storm hit near Puerto Morales. That flows syntactically perfect. If they didn't have the, right, they just said storm hit. The New York Times has reported storm hit near Puerto Rico. I would need to add the. And if you ever need to add or change something in a quote, you just put it in these brackets. Like that, right? So to make it make sense with the syntax, the New York Times has reported the storm hit. Now it flows, and I just had to add that the. The brackets let my reader know, like, hey, I added this so that it reads well. But they put the in there, so we don't have to worry about that. So we'll just leave that as is. The next thing, the important, after you get your quote in there, is this part, right? The end of text citation. So the first thing is, our punctuation always goes inside of there, right? Except the one reason we wouldn't do that, I've written this on a lot of your papers, so always make sure to do that, except if we have a citation afterward. When we have a citation afterward, we move that period from there to right there. It just goes after our parenthetical citation is what that's called, a citation inside parentheses, right? So you'll just move it from there to there. If you don't have one of these, like if I had said the New York Times, Taylor and Faggio reported, right? Then I wouldn't need this, and the period would go right there. But because I don't say their names here, I need to put their names here. And so I close quotes, open my parentheses, type their names, the last names. If it's only one person, I would just put Taylor or Faggio if it was just the second. But I would just put their name, and then you put where it's found. So for an online article, just do the best you can, right? Like give them about where to look. Oh, it's paragraph 3. Oh, it's paragraph 4. Wherever you feel like you need to put it. For books, you put the page number. So page 75, page 76, wherever it is. You do not put a comma in between these two. You just put a single space, and then you close parentheses, and that's it. We'll talk about why we do this in a minute, but then you just move on, right? Next sentence. It's pretty easy to do that, especially once you have all the information we're about to go over, but that's kind of the long and short of how to do that. You'll keep writing, and imagine, we keep writing, we finish our paper. Then eventually, at the end of our paper, we get to our works cited page. So at the end of your paper, you're going to head to the next page, create a new page afterward, and we'll start our works cited page. So whenever you see something like this, it looks really big and kind of tedious, right? But it's really just a step-by-step puzzle. And I'm going to give you the format for that puzzle. I will give you guys these two links. This one takes you to MLA formatting quotations, which is what we just did for short quotes and then for long quotes. Really helpful tool here. But then the other one I'm going to give you is this page. All of these are good helps on specifics over here. So if you just want the basic format, books, periodicals like newspapers or journals, electronic sources like YouTube or websites, other common sources, be it Netflix or video games or anything else that you might need, they're all going to be over here. But all of them, no matter what it is, use this format, right? So we're going to copy that, and I'll paste it right here so we can look at that, okay? So this is how we start, right? First thing we do is author. So these are our authors, okay? This is where this article comes in handy, right? Because if you have two authors, it could be really weird. How do you put two authors there? Book with more than one author. And this rule applies whether it's a book or an article or anything like that. You put the first person's name, last them first. So Paula Gillespie becomes Gillespie Paula, and then Neil Lerner, right? We just keep the second person's name in a normal way. What if there's more than two? What if it's just a group? All of these are covered here. So use this as a good resource and guide. But we know that we're going to put first, then second. First person has last name and then first name. Second person is that. On our article, this is the article I quoted from. We have their names right here at the top, right? Kind of often that we see the names there, so just remember those are there. Next, we need the title. So I put the title there, Hurricane Delta makes landfall. Hurricane Delta makes landfall in Mexico. We always put that in quotation marks. If it is something smaller within a bigger thing, if it's the whole thing, like a novel that you're quoting, like The Great Gatsby, it just goes in italics. So make the call there. You don't have to be perfect on that, make a guess, but generally if it's inside of something else, it gets quotation marks. If it is the whole thing, it's italics. The next thing is the container, right? We need the title of the container, which in this case is the New York Times, the newspaper. So we put that there in italics. You don't list that for standalone books. So like if it was The Great Gatsby, we just wouldn't have anything here. That would be all right there. But then we put other contributors, which this article had none. Sometimes you'll see that like edited by blank, but they didn't put that at the top, so we don't need that. The version is the edition. Again, don't necessarily worry about that unless it says like volume 2, like our textbook. I have it right here. Our textbook is the 16th edition, so we would put that there. But newspaper articles and online resources don't have those. Number, same thing here. This is for journals and things like that, so don't worry about that one. The publisher, we do need that, and I'll show you where to find that. On most websites, you find the publisher at the very bottom. Right, so you come all the way down here to this. This is called the masthead, and it's right here for the New York Times. So that C right there is what tells you who publishes it, right? So this is the New York Times Company is publishing it. So we put the New York Times Company. Notice real quick, after everything, there's either a period or a comma, and we copy that. So there's a period there. I put a period there. There's a period there. One there. But then once we get into commas, so we have a comma there. Comma, 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 comma. Now I replace these with commas, right? So we have the publisher. Then we put the publication date, which pretty easy to find again on news articles at least. At the top, you have like October 7th was the last time it was updated, so we have that. Location, that is where your where you found it. So in a book, it would be the pages, right? Oh, I'm referencing page 78 to 79. Those are where all the quotes are. But online, you're going to put the URL. So accessed at, and then just put the giant URL. The rest of this, you guys don't need to worry about. It's like if the publisher, the New York Times Company, was separate from the New York Times, like if it was published by HarperCollins or some other Penguin Random House publishers like that, then we need to give them that information. But for most of your guys' sources, they're online, and so they're not going to be needed. So you're just going to follow this structure. If you need to, pause the video, just look at that while you make your page, and then, make sure you get that in. Or you can go to that website, which I'll put the link on our Blackboard for us. But that is how you're going to build these. The last thing, right, that you need is most of you they're going to look like this afterward, right? This is what you're going to be dealing with. So there's two tricks to this to make it work. The first one is just highlight your entire citation. Come up here to formatting. There's a format button that you guys can't see in the video that's right up above it. Click on paragraph, and under indentation, you'll see hanging as an option. Okay? So if we hit OK on that, boom, it looks good. That said, it might be hard to find that setting. So if you can't find that setting, there's another easy trick I'll give you real quick. And so to do that, we will look at our citation. We're going to click right there. See right there at the end of this first line. Hit enter, because that makes this a new paragraph. There's no visual change, right? But it makes it a new paragraph. Then you'll go down to the second or the third line and hit tab. And that'll move that entire new paragraph over. So at the end, it looks just the same, right? Like there's no difference there. And so what you do is, again, you just come here, hit enter, and then go to one of the second or anything but the first line. So you go to the second or third and hit tab. And boom, we have an appropriately formatted citation. Again, that's a little tricky. If you need help, Google it, send me an email, and I'll help you figure that out. But the last step on our works cited page is always to put them in alphabetical order. So this one begins with a B, so we'll have that first. L, Z, just make sure they all go 1, 2, 3 in a good order. Remember that you guys are required to have 3 citations for this paper. So I expect to see a works cited page with 3. Always make sure that your works cited page has this centered title of works cited. But besides that, that is pretty much all you need to know on how to do this. It's going to be a little tedious, but that's exactly the process we need to get practice with. That way it's not tedious later when you have to cite 10 or 11 on some of your papers in future years. So just get a good start. Get these articles quoted first. That's going to be the harder part. Is get the quotes in there. And then this is just a puzzle to figure out. It might take you half an hour to just sit there and do it, but it's not hard, right? You're just pulling the information and slotting it in. The last thing I'll reference is, why do we do this, right? Why do we have this here? The reason is if I read this, right, the storm hit near Puerto Morales, I don't know if you were there, right? If you didn't quote this and you just said this, I don't think you were in Mexico at 6:30 a.m. this morning, right? If you are, well, that would be very surprising, but I don't know that. And so I'm immediately suspicious. Like, how do you know that to be true? If you put a quote here and you say Taylor and Faggio wrote it, I don't care if you know it, right? I'm like, do Taylor and Faggio know it? And they, because they're New York Times reporters, either they're there in Puerto Morales or they've talked to someone there or they've done the verification for us, right? So that's why we use quotes. It pulls the focus away from you and what you know and toward the people that you're quoting. So make sure to do that. And then we do this in-text citation because once we have this here, if I'm curious, I can be like, well, I don't even know if that's a good source. Let me see, Taylor and Faggio. I come down to works cited, Taylor and Faggio. So I'll click on this link and then I'll go find paragraph 2 and now I have it verified for me, right? That's why we do this. If you guys have any questions on this, please feel free to shoot me an email. I would happily walk you through this and help you figure out how to do it. Otherwise, just give it your best shot. I'm not going to take off serious points for this paper, but I do expect to see it somewhere. It'll be 10 points off if you don't even try it. So give it a shot. I need to see those citations. But otherwise, this is going to be much more important when it comes to Essay 4. I hope you guys can figure it out by then. All right. With that, good stuff. And I hope you guys have a good rest of the week and a good time writing this paper. And I look forward to seeing them. All right.